All right. Well, hi, good morning. We've got about 18 of you guys here today. That's awesome. Thanks for coming in for the live lessons. And if you're watching the recording later on, then good job too. That's the math. So welcome to Google Meets. This is the format we need to use from now on. Unfortunately, Zoom is no longer going to be an option after the end of next week. So I thought I'd try and make the transition now. If you haven't used Google Meets before, so a couple functions. If you hover your cursor down at the bottom of your screen, you can see there's an option to turn caption on. So you can see what I'm saying across the bottom of the screen. I don't know how accurate some of the math terms are going to be, how well it'll understand it, but it's worth an option if you're having trouble understanding me. Up at the top, there's a chat box. You can open that and send me a message in there if you have any questions. Okay? Now, just out of curiosity, because I haven't used it a whole lot, and I want to see what notification I get when one comes in. My computer is really slowed down now. It doesn't love this. Can you guys please send, it's still sitting there. All right, can someone just send me a message in the chat saying test or hi or anything so I can see what the notification looks like? Perfect. Oh, and it shows at the bottom. Okay. Thank you very much, guys. This is awesome. So are there any questions about completing the square that we were doing on Tuesday that I can answer before we start our warm-up? Looks like we're good. Okay, so we're actually going to start our warm-up with two questions. So if you go to the front of the second page, we're going to start with question F. And we're going to work through completing the square. So I'm going to talk my way through it right now. You guys watching and following along should be doing it on your own right now, okay? But for the sake of the video, for the sake of anyone who's maybe feeling a little unsure, but also doesn't want to type a question out, I'm just going to go through it step by step. So remember that step one is to factor out A. So that means I'm going to pull 4, whatever the A value is, out, and divide the A and B terms by that. So that leaves you with x squared plus 4x. Step 2 is to find M. And M is equal to B over 2 squared. So 4 divided by 2 is 2. 2 squared is 4. So that's plus, I'll put this in red again. And I'm going to add it and subtract it immediately. So I'm not actually changing the equation. Step 4, I'm going to take my A value, multiply it by the negative M value to move it outside of the brackets. So 4 times negative 4 leaves me with negative 16. Finally, I'm going to factor the perfect square. Remember that we factor a perfect square by saying x plus b over 2. That's x plus b is 4 divided by 2, so 2 squared minus 16. Tell me what the coordinates of my vertex are. In the chat, please. Good, Grace. So -2, yeah, good, Anna. We take this h, but remember we have to switch the sign of h when we pull it out. So -2 and -16. And we have completed the square. Huzzah! What happened to the +4? Okay, so Morgan, when we factored it, you're talking about right here, what happened to it? If we had x plus 2 squared, well, that is x plus 2 times x plus 2. And if I use FOIL, then that gives me x squared plus 2x plus 2x plus 4, or x squared plus 4x plus 4. So it's the same expression, we've just factored it. It's like saying I could write the number 8 as 4 times 2. Okay, it's still there, it's just represented differently for our vertex form. Okay, let's do another warm up. Go ahead with H, please. Take a moment and work through it. I'm going to give you 3 minutes. Yes, Anna. So good question. When you're factoring out A, you take the negative sign as well. We need positive 1x squared inside the brackets. We take the negative sign outside. We factor the negative sign out, CL. So my first line would be negative 0.2 bracket. So then we'd have positive x squared plus 20x, close the bracket, plus 1. Okay. So compare your answer. I factored out A, which is negative 0.2. That left me with x squared plus 20x inside the bracket. My m value is b divided by 2. So 20 divided by 2 is 10. 10 squared is 100. I add it and I subtract it in the same step. I then multiplied my a value times that negative m value to bump it outside the brackets. Negative 0.2 times negative 100 gives me positive 20. I factor the perfect square by saying x plus b over 2. That gives me y equals negative 0.2 bracket x plus 10 close bracket squared plus 21. My vertex is at negative 10 and 21. So I hope you're feeling pretty okay at completing the square, and it's totally normal, and I expect you guys to feel just okay. Like, you need to practice it more. Sometimes you need to refer back to the steps, but you can follow those steps, and that's good. That's where we need you to be. And the more you practice, the more comfortable you'll get. So let's go on to some word problems for today. Oh, look at that nice blank page on the back. Okay, but please note, completing the square method, this can be used to find the vertex for any quadratic relation. In our next unit, when we start looking for a different component of the parabola, we're going to look for zeros. We know that some parabolas don't cross the x-axis, but every parabola has a vertex. Every parabola can have completing the square done to find the vertex. All right, word problems, your very favorite. Okay, a projectile, so a rock of some sort, is launched upwards. It follows a path given by h equals negative 5t squared plus 400t, where h is height in meters and t is time in seconds. What is the maximum height that the projectile reaches? Well, when we see here, it's asking us for a maximum. That's asking us for the vertex. So what do we need to do? We need to complete the square. You probably knew we were already going to do that because this lesson is called completing the square, but just in case. So here I'm going to write out my equation, my original equation first. And I would like you guys to take 3 minutes and complete the square. It's exactly the same as we've been doing without the word problems. Okay, first step is factor out negative 5. Find your m value. Okay, remember that m is b divided by 2, then squared. So negative 80 divided by 2 is negative 40. Negative 40 squared is 1,600. So I add and subtract it. A times that negative m value gives me a positive 8,000. And then I factor the perfect square. So in the chat, tell me what the vertex is of this relation. Grace, you already knew what I was going to ask. But now it's a word problem. We have to figure what this means. What is the context? So 40 is the T, right? It's associated with T. 8,000 is H. So how does this relate to what the question has asked us for? The maximum what, Shannon? 8,000 is the maximum what? Height, yeah. And yeah, Morgan and Anna, you've pointed out that it hits that maximum height at 40 seconds. Good. So 8,000 meters is the maximum height of the projectile. Now, the question didn't ask for the time, but if it did, then yeah, it would be at 40 seconds. Amazing, right? Huh, I love completing the square. So much better than making a table of values and graphing it and hoping you figure it out. Let's do another word problem. Yeah. Number 4. A glassworks company that makes lead crystal bowls has a daily production cost of C in dollars. That's given by the relation C equals 0.2 B squared minus 10B plus 650, where B is the number of bowls made. What this company wants to do, and this is actually something that companies will examine, they want to know how many bowls should be made to minimize production costs. You know what companies love? Money. They love profit. So they want to be able to hit that sweet spot where it's selling the most they can, but also having the lowest overhead cost, because they may be able to make more and sell more, but then their production costs go up and they'll actually end up losing profit. All right, so what bowls will, or how many bowls will be made to minimize the production cost, and what is the minimum cost? So we're going to need both parts of the vertex here. Go ahead and complete the square, please. Answer the question for me. I'm going to wait 4 minutes. Morning, Opie. Okay, so I've completed the square. When you have, send your vertex in the chat. Good work, guys. So the vertex is at 25 and 525. But tell me what each of those numbers mean. All right, 25 is our B value, 525 is C. So what? Okay, good. So they're making 25 bowls for $525, but we need to emphasize that this is the minimum cost. So I'm going to say, therefore, the minimum production cost is what? How much? $525. When how many bowls are made? 25. Nice. And that is our answer to the Glassworks Company. Questions, comments, or concerns on this one? Then let's move on. And don't get unnerved by the questions on the back. We're going to adjust them a little bit because of pandemic rules. Okay, so typically, if we were in the classroom, we would actually spend probably a whole other day learning how to set up these equations and make them from the question. But you know how sometimes a crappy situation has a silver lining for you? Pandemic rules mean that we've decided not to make you know how to set this up. It is complicated. It's the hardest part of this unit. We're going to give you the equation. All right, but just for interest's sake, I'm going to walk you through it right now and show you how I would do it. And then I will highlight the step, or I'll make a star where this is where you're expected to start. So Monty Burns, he's the owner of a nuclear plant. Don't know if you've heard of him before. He wants to enclose a rectangular area next to a river using 800 meters of fencing. He's not going to enclose along the riverbank. So here's my river. Make a 3-sided enclosure. As a result, there will be fencing on 3 sides. Now, him being a business owner and one that loves money, he wants to enclose the maximum amount of area possible with this 800 meters of fencing. We want to know what the dimensions are. So we know there's going to be width, and length. If you think back to your perimeter equation from, grade 3 onwards, that's going to be the total sides added together. So that'd be width plus length, or perimeter equals 2 times the width plus the length. Now we know how much perimeter he's got. He's got 800 meters of fencing, like so. And I'm going to rearrange it to isolate for L. We'll say 800 minus 2W equals L. So that's perimeter. I'm asking you about area. Who can tell me the formula for area? Length times width. Length times width. Yes. Length times width. Well, looky here. I remember substitution, guys. Remember back in that first unit? Here, I've already isolated L. So I could say that area equals 800 minus 2 times width times width. I'm going to expand that. Okay, so not totally FOIL, but I'm going to use my distributive property, and that's going to give me 800W minus 2W squared. Pardon me. Put that in proper order, which gives me area equals negative 2W plus 800 squared. This is where you need to start. Okay? You actually should be able to start from here. If I gave you that expression, use the distributive property to put it into standard form. From here, this is the equation for area. I want to know the maximum area. That's your cue to complete the square. So go ahead and complete the square from here. I'm going to call this pandemic starting point. When I look back on these scanned notes in a couple of years, it's going to be weird. Or next year in grade 11, when you're sitting in your class and your teacher says, hey, remember these area problems, set it up. You'll be like, we need the pandemic starting point. And hopefully it's Miss Rowden who's also doing this video and gets it. It will not be me teaching grade 11. Once you completed the square, identify your vertex, figure out which part of the vertex represents what, and then read that last bit of the question. So step by step, what's my vertex? Watch your sign, CL. Yes, 280,000 is correct. So 280,000. 200 is our width. 80,000 is our area. The question was two parts. It said, what is the maximum area and what are the dimensions? So we've got width right here, 200 meters. We need to figure out our length. We're going to go back to this. I'm going to say 800 minus 2 times 200 equals length. That gives me 800 minus 400 equals length. So 400. My therefore statement. The dimensions for maximum area are 400 meters by 200 meters. The maximum area is 80,000 meters squared. Watch your unit. Remember that area gets a meter squared. So that's a complex question. All right, but I will give you a starting point. I won't have you start from blank like we normally would. We got one more problem to go. Again, this is one that we would normally start from blank. I'm going to show you what we would normally do, and then I'll identify the pandemic starting point. Okay, question number 2. An arena seats 2,000 people and charges $10 per ticket. At this price, all the tickets are sold. The team owners want to increase the ticket prices. Again, because you know what business owners love, guys? Money. All right? A survey indicates that for every $1 the price increases, the number of tickets sold will actually decrease by $100. What is the maximum revenue that the arena can make? So we know right now they're making, so revenue is equal to price times the number sold. And I'm going to let X represent the number of price changes. X is not tickets sold, it's the number of price changes. So my revenue are, the original price is $10, and we're going to increase it by $1 each time. So that's plus X. However many increases, it's plus 1X. Now the number sold started at 2,000. What's happening to the number of tickets sold? Every time it increases by $1, what happens? They lose 10 tickets. 100 tickets. Thank you, Kendra. Okay, so 100 tickets times the number of price increases. So here you go. I have given you a formula here. Pandemic starting point. I won't make you come up with it, but I will give it to you. We can't complete the square like this. We need to FOIL it first. So take a moment and expand it to standard form. So 10 times 2,000 is 20,000. 10 times negative 100x is negative 1,000x plus 2,000x minus 100x squared. That gives me negative 100x squared plus 1,000x plus 20,000. And from there, complete the square. Take a few moments. I was checking, Grace, with your comment, but yeah. Once you've got the square completed, send me the vertex in the chat. Good, Opie. Yeah, Anna, you got it. Good, Morgan. Okay, now the question is, what do each of these numbers mean? What's the actual context? 5 is our x value. Okay. So x, and that's revenue. Good. So Kendra said, well, maximum revenue is $22,500. Exactly. Now 5 isn't the price, it's the number of price changes. So remember that the price was 10 plus x. So that means that our price is going to be $15. That will maximize revenue. And they're actually not going to have a full arena anymore, but they're still making more money. So therefore, a price of $15 will bring a maximum revenue of $22,500. And that is the end of our word problems. So what do you have to do for the next or for the rest of the week? There's an assignment where you have to do one simple completing the square and one word problem for me. Post your solution. I am marking that. Make sure that's done. There's also a practice quiz and an actual quiz for you to do. Next week, we're going to focus next week is going to be like part review, part word problems. We're not going to actually learn any new content, but I am going to be checking in. There are going to be assignments. There is going to be an assessment. How did I get 15? So 5, Victoria, is the number of price changes. If the original price was $10 and we have 5, each price change was $1, right? Up in the question. So 10 plus x is 5. That gives me 15. Okay, folks, so I'm available for the next 10 minutes. At noon, I have to I'm not going anywhere. I have to join a phys ed meeting. So for now, stick around, send me a question. If you feel good and want to try the textbook questions, you go ahead and do that. I am going to take a look at the textbook questions. I feel like I'll need to actually maybe give you a couple equations if there's any of the area ones. I think I removed them, but I'm not 100% sure. So bye. Thanks for popping in. Nice chatting with you guys.
Yeah.
Hello?
Hi, Ms. Morton.
Who am I talking to here?
It's Olivia.
Hello. Hello. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm just wonderful.
Yeah.
How are you?
Oh, just keeping on.
Yep.
Are you all done your stuff for the semester now? All your exams?